to sex or not to sex? That is the question. Our homie on our counter blog, on Bocabella's counter blog, just did a blog talking about when is the right time for a woman, interesting, a man talking about when is the right time for a woman to give it up to her partner. He had a co-host who put in as well some feedback in the blog as well. And it's a pretty interesting blog, hearing from a male's perspective when they think it's appropriate for a woman to have sex with a man. Coming from a female's perspective, I think it'll be a little challenging to their view. Basically, what the fellows over there on AirMag's blog said were that when deciding whether to have sex with a man, it's not about the time frame, but what you need to ask yourself is why you're having sex with this person. I counter. Indeed, it is about a time frame. And let me elaborate further. The only reason it's about a time frame is because you need time for this man to prove whether he's worthy of being slept with or not. I agree with the fellas in that there's no specific right time frame, but the fellas also said it's based off of how a woman feels about a man, and that'll determine whether she'd have sex with him. But I disagree. It shouldn't be based on how you feel, because ladies, let's be real here. We can go from a real high, feeling a guy, to a real low very, very quickly. And since we're such emotional creatures, it can be very difficult to sort of tame our feelings and keep a stability because we judge our emotions a lot based off of other people's actions. So it's not so much about how you feel, but it's more based off of what he can show you, okay? So yes, time frame does matter, only in the sense that it gives him and you both time to prove whether or not you're compatible. It gives you time to recognize if this man is really putting in the effort it takes for you to give part of yourself to him. And it gives the man time to show himself, right? To man up and be the man that you need him to be, or otherwise kick him to the curb. So time frame is important, but only in that context. Again, it's not about how you feel, but it's about what a man can show you. Okay, as women, we are nurturers, we're affectionate, we're worshipers. We will bend over backwards to show a man how deep and how sincere our love is and how our feelings are just so intertwined, and his happiness and his everything. And I'll give you all of me, blah, blah, blah. Men, we are affectionate by nature. Okay, so take this example. It's like having a puppy, right? You get this puppy, but the puppy is not disciplined. It doesn't have any training. It hasn't been to obedience school. It hasn't been told how to sit. It hasn't been taught how to kneel or heel. It hasn't been taught how to speak. It hasn't been taught that it takes its dirty business outside and does its business in the backyard. You know, it hasn't learned how to respond accordingly when you call him, right? This is what happens with women. Women, as affectionate as we are, as affection-giving as we are, as nurturing as we are, what happens is little Fido comes in the door, and all we see is cute little Fido. Look at little Fido wagging his tail. Look how cute little Fido's ears are. Oh my gosh, look at little Fido's nose. He's so adorable. And what we do is we give tons and tons and tons of affection to this disobedient dog. Okay, and then when little Fido doesn't sit, it's not like bad Fido, bad Fido. We're like, oh Fido, you're just so cute, blah, 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 right? What needs to happen is instead of giving little Fido the treat and rewarding him based on his disobedience and based on his not understanding the rules and not knowing how to sit, how to speak, how to go potty outside, instead of giving him the reward when he doesn't know how to do those things, we need to train him, okay? You need to train the dog. You need to provide discipline for the dog. You need to provide training. And once the dog complies and learns that if he sits, he'll get a treat, then you can go forth and give the dog a treat. Get it? Okay, not to say that men are dogs, because that's not at all what I'm alluding to here. Although, there's one man out there who I would say is a dog, and you know who you are. She's probably not watching this. Good. Anyways, I'm not saying men are dogs, and I'm not saying they should be treated like animals. All I'm saying is that there's a direct correlation. You do not give the affection before the man shows that he understands you and he's willing to do those things that you're asking from him. You don't give a dog a treat unless obedience is shown. Because when we have sex, we immediately are emotionally tied to someone. And that can lead to a whole lot of heartbreak. Because the intended purpose of sex is intimacy. The intended purpose of sex is to unite, to bring people together. Okay, that is the God-created purpose of having sex with someone. It is to unite you in intimacy, in togetherness, into a bond. Okay, that's the purpose of sex. And before you go off and give, Jermaine over there, that part of yourself, you need to think very clearly and understand that once you do that, which I'm sure women, we've been there, you're going to be soul tied to this guy. You're going to have a piece of yourself that you've given to him. They too are giving themselves to us. But it's just so socially unacceptable for a woman to sleep around with many people that the idea that we're giving ourselves has stuck. Whereas men, it's acceptable for them in our society to go around and sleep with a whole bunch of women and give themselves. And it's acceptable, so there's no condemnation, there's no fear, and there's no recourse. They don't think twice about it. They just do it. But in reality, when a man sleeps with a woman, he too is also giving himself to her. And it works both ways. You want to make sure this person has shown you that they are worthy, that they understand you, and that they're willing to go to that place with you. Wherever that place is, they're willing to go there with you and not with anyone else. The act of having sex with someone says, I belong to you. Just like being in a marriage with someone, it says that I belong to you and you belong to me in turn. That's the intended purpose of sex. And that's why it's important to monitor the progress of your relationship very closely and also to guide it in a direction that you want to go. And make sure that other person who you're considering giving yourself to is on that same plane with you. Make sure they're not just, in it to hit it and quit it. Make sure he proves himself worthy of being your affectionate receiver. Okay, I also had another comment about AirMag's blog. It's funny that you guys make a blog about a woman keeping her pants up and keeping her legs closed. And you guys also took the liberty of calling a woman a hoe for sleeping with a man prematurely. Yet you don't call a man a hoe for sleeping with a woman prematurely, do you? Because even in their blog, one of the co-hosts said that he had slept with a woman prematurely. But I wonder if he'd call himself a hoe. Or is a woman just a hoe for sleeping with a man prematurely? I'm sick of the double standards. That's hypocrisy. That is sexual hypocrisy. And you guys should be shamed for that. Also, you guys said, don't get me wrong. If a woman offers man sex, it's hard for a man to turn it down. You want to know why? Because men don't get offered stuff for free very often. Okay, so that makes it okay for men to go around sleeping with just random women, right? And all of a sudden, we're the ones who get labeled as hoes because we slept with you. So if a woman goes out and sleeps with, a handful of men, suddenly she's labeled a hoe. We're the hoes when, the sex was offered to you guys and you guys weren't strong enough to say no. You guys just accepted it, took it, and suddenly we're hoes and you're not? Wrong. Foul. That's one of those give me a freaking break moments. Take the liberty of calling yourself a hoe or take the liberty of calling other men who do those things hoes as well, because it works both ways. I'm so sick of women being mislabeled and being degraded for doing things that men do. It's not fair. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. I'm running about 12 minutes right now, so I'm going to have to do some serious editing. Anyways, I'm out. Holla.